3 climbers, 3 fatal decisions, 1 unforgiving mountain. These real-life tragedies will change how you see Everest forever. People climb mountains for all kinds of reasons. The thrill, the challenge, the bragging rights. But up there, where the air gets thin and your fingers go numb, things can go wrong fast, really fast. Most of us will never know what it feels like to cling to an icy cliff face with the wind trying to tear you off. We won't feel that mix of terror and elation that comes with pushing your body to the absolute edge. But we can learn from those who've been there, especially those who never made it back down. Today we're looking at 3 climbing disasters that shook the mountaineering world to its core. These weren't just tragic accidents, they were wake-up calls that changed how people think about mountains, risk, and the tough choices faced in the deadliest places on Earth. Before we dive into the final chapters of these climbers, I just want to say this. I'm a small channel sharing powerful stories from the world's tallest mountains. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. It really helps me reach my first 1,000 subscribers. Thank you. Now, ready to head up? The climb starts now. Mount Everest, 1982. The mountain had already claimed dozens of lives, but that didn't stop Marty Hoey. At 30 years old, she was no rookie. She was one of America's strongest female climbers and a seasoned mountain guide with dreams of becoming the first American woman to conquer Everest. The expedition was going well. Marty was climbing strong, impressing even the veterans on her team. Her technique was solid, her experience substantial, her determination unwavering. Dick Bloom, a teammate, later said she was the strongest and most committed climber he'd ever known. No one doubted she would make it to the top. May 15th. The team was pushing up the North Ridge. Marty was roped up with teammate Dan Reed, traversing a steep slope at 26,000 feet, higher than most planes fly. The air was dangerously thin, their bodies slowly dying from lack of oxygen. Every move required focus. Marty stopped to adjust her gear. She unclipped briefly from the safety line to fix her harness, a routine adjustment she'd made countless times before. Just another moment in a climber's day. Then it happened. The harness buckle, a simple piece of metal that had one job, failed. 1 second she was there, the next, gone. Dan watched in horror as Marty tumbled backward, picking up speed down the steep face. No ice axe arrest, no chance to react. Just the sickening sight of his teammate plummeting 6,000 feet into the glacial abyss below. No body was ever recovered. The mountain had claimed her in an instant, all because of a buckle. Marty's death stunned the climbing world. Here was an elite climber, doing everything mostly right, killed by equipment she trusted with her life. The investigation revealed her Chouinard Frost harness relied on a friction buckle system. When adjusted improperly or under extreme conditions, it could slip. One mistake, one fatal slip. Climbing equipment manufacturers responded. They redesigned harnesses with double-back buckles and fail-safe systems. Safety protocols evolved. Climbers became more vigilant about gear checks. Today, Marty's legacy lives on, not just in mountaineering history, but in the improved equipment that has saved countless lives since her fall. Sometimes tragedy drives the changes that protect us all. While Marty's story showed how equipment could betray even the best climbers, Vitor Negreit's tragedy reveals a different danger, the one that comes after success. Vitor was Brazil's mountaineering hero, tough, experienced, and fiercely determined. By 2006, he'd already summited Everest once using supplemental oxygen. But that wasn't enough. He wanted to join the elite club of climbers who'd reached the top, breathing nothing but the thin air available at 29,000 feet. The purest form of the challenge. Many told him it was too dangerous. His body wasn't adapted for such extreme altitude. But Vitor had made up his mind. Some dreams are worth any risk. On May 18, 2006, Vitor did it. Standing on top of the world without an oxygen mask, he became the first Brazilian to summit Everest clean. Radio crackled with his triumph. Photos were taken. The dream was accomplished. But Everest veterans know a brutal truth. The summit is only halfway. The descent began well enough. Vitor was tired but moving. Then the mountain showed its teeth. As darkness fell, his pace slowed drastically. Other climbers noticed something wrong. His movements became uncoordinated, speech slurred, classic signs of cerebral edema, the high-altitude swelling of the brain that kills quickly and mercilessly. At 27,900 feet, Vitor collapsed in the snow. His Sherpa guide radioed for help. A rescue team assembled at high camp, but night had fallen and a storm was brewing. The rescuers faced an impossible choice: risk multiple lives to save one, or wait till morning. What would you do in this situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We know what the rescuers did. They waited. By first light, they reached him. Vitor was still breathing, barely. They administered dexamethasone and oxygen, desperate measures for a body shutting down. It wasn't enough. As they struggled to move his limp body down the mountain, Vitor Negreira died. Just hours after his greatest achievement, the summit had taken everything. What killed Vitor wasn't just altitude, it was exhaustion, oxygen deprivation, and, crucially, inadequate support. His small team lacked the resources for a proper rescue. No helicopter could reach those heights. No hospital waited nearby. On Everest, the line between triumph and disaster is paper thin. Vitor had crossed it without even knowing. If Marty's story warned us about equipment and Vitor's about the danger after triumph, David Sharp's death forces us to face mountaineering's darkest ethical question. When do we stop climbing to help someone else? David was a 34-year-old engineer, an experienced climber from England. In 2006, he returned to Everest for his third attempt, determined to summit. But David made choices that would prove fatal. He climbed solo, carried minimal oxygen, brought no radio, and most critically, he told no one his exact plans. He was alone by design, independent to a fault. The mountain doesn't forgive such confidence. The stage was set for disaster. May 15th, 2006. The infamous Green Boots Cave, a shallow rocky alcove at 27,890 feet, named after the corpse of an Indian climber whose green boots point outward from the darkness. This grim landmark is where David stopped to rest during his descent. The cave offered minimal shelter from howling winds. Temperatures plunged below -30 degrees Fahrenheit. Exhausted and oxygen-deprived, David couldn't continue. Maybe he thought he'd rest, just for a moment. But at that altitude, stopping often means dying. His body temperature dropped rapidly. Frostbite claimed his extremities. His brain and organs began shutting down. David froze in place, still alive, but unable to move. Sitting upright, still wearing his backpack, he looked like just another climber taking a break. Except, he wasn't moving, wasn't responding. And then came the truly haunting part of this tragedy. As dawn broke on May 16th, the climbing routes became busy, and David Sharp sat dying in plain sight of everyone passing by. Over 40 climbers walked past David that day. Let that sink in. Some didn't notice him among the rocks and shadows. Others saw him, but assumed he was already dead. A few stopped briefly, realized he was still alive, then continued their own climbs. One expedition leader radioed down about the stranded climber, but was told, "There's nothing we can do. Nothing we can do." 4 words that would haunt the climbing community forever. Mark Inglis, a double amputee climber who passed David, later said, "He was in a very poor condition, near death. We couldn't help him, but could they have tried harder? Should they have?" David's body remained where he died, joining the more than 200 corpses that litter Everest's slopes. The news hit the climbing world like an avalanche. Sir Edmund Hillary, the first man to summit Everest, didn't mince words. "I think the whole attitude toward climbing Mount Everest has become rather horrifying." The incident forced a brutal reckoning. Had summit fever, the obsessive drive to reach the top, corrupted mountaineering's soul? Expedition companies changed policies. Some now require climbers to sign contracts promising to abort summits to help others in distress. David's death became a watershed moment in mountaineering ethics. His legacy? A simple question. What's a summit worth? 3 different climbers, 3 different mistakes. Yet these tragedies share haunting similarities. Each person pushed beyond normal human limits. Each found themselves in that razor-thin margin where small errors become fatal, and each death changed mountaineering forever. Mountains don't care about your experience, your dreams, or your safety gear. They simply exist, beautiful, challenging, and absolutely indifferent to whether you live or die. That's what makes them both irresistible and deadly. After Marty's death, harness designs improved dramatically. Fail-safes became standard. Equipment testing grew more rigorous. After Vider and David, expedition companies rewrote their rules. Many now require more oxygen, better communication, and stricter health monitoring. Some mandated turnaround times, when you must head down, no matter how close the summit seems. The climbing community had to face hard truths about what matters more, reaching the top or coming home alive. Some lessons are written in blood. Mountains will always call to us. The danger is part of what makes them special. But these 3 stories remind us: respect the mountain, check your gear obsessively, know your limits, and never forget that summits are optional. Returning home isn't. Because in the end, no view is worth your life.